You're listening to LA40 with Katerina Cozias, only on LA Talk Radio.
Okay, so it's February officially, and I don't know how this happened. The year is floating by, and we are bringing in February with a little bit of a relationship episode, because February is kind of the love month, right, ladies?
Yes.
It is. All right,
sure.
if you're tuning in, welcome to LA40. We get together every Thursday morning here on LA Talk Radio. I'm your host, Katerina Cozias, and as I mentioned, today we're talking love, and I am so thrilled to have two fantastic relationship experts on our show today that are going to delve into some really cool stuff. So I'm going to introduce them first, and then we're going to delve into a little bit of why we're putting this together and what it's going to mean to you at home. So if you're in a relationship, you got to stay tuned. If you're not in a relationship, even better, stay tuned, because there are tips that are going to be had here to help you find love if that's what you're looking for. So 125 million people in America right now over the age of 18 are single. If you're one of them, don't go anywhere. Ladies, to my left is Sophie Venable. Sophie, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Sophie is a marriage and relationship therapist, expert, certified.
I'm certified. I'm
There's a lot.
Okay, I'm a certified life coach with a master's in marriage and family therapy.
Okay.
So yeah, so I work in a little different way, more coaching, mentorship type way, as opposed to an MFT.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah. MFT is
marriage and family therapist licensed under the state, and so they operate a little differently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then we've got Carrie Newell. Hi, Carrie.
Hi.
So thanks for being with us as well.
Thank you.
Yes. And you have been doing relationships for quite a while as well.
Yes, I am in my 18th year.
Woohoo!
It's a long time.
It's a long time. Yes.
I've heard it all.
I bet you have. Yeah. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Sophie has a new workshop coming up. That's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on.
Yes,
is because
thank you so much.
You have a relationship workshop coming up this week
This
here in
Saturday.
LA. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, this is a workshop called Loving on the Edge, and it's going to be at the Alex Theater in Glendale from 10 to 6. Registration starts at 9, and you can find out more about it at lovingontheedgeworkshop.com. And what we're going to be doing is talking about moving from fear to love in relationship and what that looks like, and loving without guarantee, and what to be intentional about if you're seeking relationship, and what to be intentional about nurturing in your relationship if you are coupled. And so it's going to be a really exciting day, and I'm bringing in some music. I'm going to sing a few jazz standards for you just because it's fun.
There you go.
That sounds awesome.
Yes.
So yeah, it's going to be a fun day, and music gives us room for our emotions, and that's the beginning of moving from fear to love. So
Right. And I've got so many questions because there's so much to go into when it comes to relationships. But I want to just touch on what Carrie does as well, because you have a site that's called Communication Magic with Men.
Yes.
I love
And
that.
that is of interest, but it has to be of interest to a lot of women and to some men.
Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about Communication Magic with Men, what that means.
Well, what it means is understanding the differences between men and women. If you haven't noticed, we're a little different, right? And
Thank
so
God.
there's certain things that you can learn that make it so much easier to be around men, to have conversations with men, to have relationships with men. Now, most women come to me for their romantic relationships, but I've certainly had women, with work situations or their contractor or anything. And when you understand how men think, process, respond differently than we do, it can change your whole world.
it is magic.
It is, right?
It is. It's incredible.
That wasn't always my company name, because my clients kept saying, it's like magic.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
Manspeak.com.
Right.
Well, that reminds me a little bit of back in the day. Remember John Gray's book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus?
Yes.
And I remember I had read that. I was maybe, the first time I picked it up, I was maybe early 20s.
Right.
And even just having it come from a male's perspective of what men need. And the one thing that stuck with me from that book was, if you're in a car with a guy, and men just refuse to ask for directions.
Right.
They'll just drive around in circles. And somewhere in the book he says, don't reprimand them for that. Just kind of keep applauding them, like, I know you'll get us there, honey. I know you'll get us there. And part of me was like, but what if he doesn't? And I have better things to do than drive around the block. So,
Well, it's a good point. And sometimes women say it's like a game, you know, why do I have to change? And, you know, you bring up driving, which is the perfect example. So red light, we stop, green light, we go, yellow light, depending on how you drive, you may speed up, you may slow down. But the idea is that you want to get there safe and you want it to work out the best way possible, right?
Yeah.
So changing the way you communicate with a man it's not about changing you and who you are.
It's a dance.
It's a
not
dance.
a game.
And it's
a
more
dance.
about if you understand that if you say it this way or you wait or, you know, your tone of voice or any of those things, that you'll get a different response back, which are the things that we want, right? So
Now, I've got a question because part of the times you see couples in relationships, assuming you're in one, 6 out of 10 couples are not happy. So is it better to be alone in a relationship or alone?
well, that's a very personal question. I mean, if you're asking me, I think it's better to be alone, right? Because it can be painful to be in a relationship where you're not getting what you need. And what about, you know, people stepping out of the relationship to find what they need, which brings more pain? That's just my opinion.
yeah.
But I think it could be personal. You know, people don't like to be alone.
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
I really think that is volunteering for no expansion. Like if
right.
we're souls in an expanding universe and we have a natural desire and tendency and need to expand as people, whether that's in your creativity or in love in your relationships, then if you're in a crappy, unhappy relationship, now of course there are ways that you can take responsibility for that and work on it. But if you are just contracting so that you have the illusion of expanding, right? It sort of satisfies that, right? You're like, you know, oh, it's a good week. Oh, it's a bad week. Oh, it's a good week. Oh, it's a bad week. You're actually never, it's like losing the same 5 pounds over and over again.
Right.
You know, you
It's
never
so
actually
true.
expand past that. And then your relationship becomes a trap instead of a garden for growth, right? And then people step
And
out
women,
and people,
yeah.
you know, and then there's all of this pain and betrayal that doesn't need to happen.
And women, the way that our brains are created, our relationships affect everything. I mean, our whole day. We have a disagreement with our significant other, and it can affect our whole day until that is resolved.
Sure.
And
So do men deal with that differently? They go to work and they forget, they move into the other box?
They do. Well, most men spend their time in their left lobe, and their left lobe thinking. And they actually have the connective tissue between the left and right lobes of the brain is called the corpus callosum. And women have a larger corpus callosum. And I always say, don't tell a man that your corpus callosum is larger because they don't want to think
The
that
size
anything
matters.
of theirs is smaller, right? But what this does is it enables us as women, we think, feel back and forth, right? And then men are usually in their thinking. And so when we ask a man, like, how do you feel about that? Or how do you feel about me? He has to go from his left lobe thinking into his right lobe feeling, figure out how he feels, go back into his left lobe thinking to give us the answer. But by then we've already cut him off. You know, we're already like, you
exactly.
never tell me how
This
you
is
feel.
This is why I teach thinking questions. You know, like
So what's a thinking
A
question?
thinking question would be
Asking him what he thinks.
in a perfect world, how would this have gone?
Oh, you'd ask him that?
Sure, because
after
now
a
he's in story
disagreement?
mode. That has nothing to do with feeling. Now you'll probably get, well, in a perfect world, you would have done this, and then I would have felt like you actually trusted me and cared about my, and then, oh, now we're into feelings. But he doesn't know he went there, right? You just asked him a thinking question.
That's brilliant.
So,
Wow.
So I would imagine that's
It's very similar. Yeah, I mean, if you ask a man what he thinks and he tells you what he thinks, you'll know how he feels also. So, you know, but it doesn't make him take that space and go into his left lobe and then back into his right, you know, back and forth.
Right. He will reveal.
We don't have the patience for
He'll
that.
reveal what he's feeling
does.
by the story that he's telling you and that he's coming up with.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, I mean, society says that men don't communicate as effectively as women. Is that true, or do they just communicate differently?
I think we could learn a thing or two from men, to be perfectly honest, right?
I agree.
Yeah, I do. I
think
really
they get a
I
bad
love
rap
men
sometimes.
Yeah, they
you
do
know.
get a bad rap. We get very, we're very men are very visceral, and they're very in the present moment, right? And the present moment is, we could use a little more time in the present moment. Women are very visual in there, and I'm not talking about eroticism. I'm talking about they're visual in their processing, and that they see the whole movie ahead of time. So they're like, we need a new car because the car seat's not going to fit, and blah, 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 blah. And he's just like,
Right.
and now like you're in labor, and he's like, oh man, I guess we need a car seat. And you're like, "Ah,"
We go from A to Z
Yes.
very quickly,
Yes.
and they go A, B,
B,
C, D.
Right, which is
and
why-
We learn from
and
that.
we get impatient,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, I always say our brains are more like a computer. You know,
Women's brains.
Yeah, women's
Okay.
brains are more like a computer. You put in the information and we spit it out very, very quickly. And men are more like an adding machine. And there's equity in both, right? But as women, one of the biggest things I see, or the biggest challenges, is that we're moving so fast, especially today, that we don't slow down and take the time to practice what I call good listening. So that we don't give them the opportunity to actually share. They share something, they pause, they're thinking about something else, you know, going a little bit deeper. And we're right in there interrupting them, changing the subject, you know.
Right.
And they're just kind of shut down.
Can I say how this works against us as well?
Yes.
We also do this with emotions we haven't had yet. We're already, we're at point A, we're at point M with an emotion we haven't had yet, and we're already pissed at them for making us feel it.
Right.
Do you know
so
what I'm saying?
we're projecting what's going to happen.
And so you're already just all in a spin about an emotion you haven't even had yet. I'm going to miss him on Thursday, and he doesn't realize it. Why doesn't he make a date with me? It's like, settle down. The guy's going to realize Thursday that he hasn't seen you, and he's going to be like,
So
oh
what?
my God.
But you've got a woman that comes to you and is in that kind of panic state where
Sure.
she's projecting to the M. How do we not? What's a tip as women to say, whoa, okay,
Just what you're doing.
Okay.
Just what you're doing. Just
great
getting into
center.
that. Just getting into that present moment. Take a breath. Realize you are whole and perfect no matter what this person does. That's it. I mean, there's this whole idea. This is what I talk about moving into love. This whole idea that like, you have to love yourself before you find love. I get it. But that statement in itself kind of rubs me the wrong way because we've all loved somebody who doesn't love themselves, right?
Right.
Okay, so proof positive right there.
I think
Boom,
most
doesn't
of us
work.
don't
Most
love
of us,
ourselves.
Yes, and if you ask a couple that's been together 25, 30 years, did you love yourself before you met each other? And they're like, what?
Right.
You know, and so it's really about what I like to call it is moving into love. If you can be in the present moment and breathe into this space and be in love, then it's not, well, I've gone to a mountaintop and I've meditated for 2 years and I totally accept myself and you should accept me as I am. Then that's actually resistance, right? What I would hope you'd get from all that meditating is that now you can come down the hill and you can say, I accept myself and I accept you exactly where you are. And I choose to either be in relationship with you or not. And that's it. That's from a place of love. And that's what keeps you in the energy of now love is not conditional. Relationships are conditional. And so if you're saying, I accept you where you are, I'm thank you very much for the invitation, but I'm going to stay in this place and I'm going to go dial this in and I'm going to find this loving space over here. Because if I'm in love and you're in love, then we can be in love with each other.
Huh. Because one of the buzzwords that's floating around right now is self-love, right? But what do you think of self-love? Because I can wake up, like you said, and be in love with self, but
you might not like everything about yourself. That's the thing. You can say, if you're working so hard at self-love and you're saying, I love myself, even my cellulite, even my this, even my that, you're actually, what it really is about is being in allowance with yourself, right? Is sort of like just coming into this space of being in the present moment and realizing there's no story in the present moment. You're not your past, you're not your future, you just are love in love. I'm getting a little woo-woo, but I do make this very practical in relationship terms because ultimately it all comes back to you and what vibration you are putting out there and saying yes to. Because what you don't realize is when you get all bent out of shape and you say no to this in such anger and fear and resentment, you're just lowering your vibe, right? All this like, psh, 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 all that stuff, it's not good for you.
well, and this takes me to my next question because we're living in a social media digital world, right? So dating and relationships, even if you're married, you may have one of these apps on your phone and you're flipping right or left. What I noticed is we've gone from a place, I think they had said a couple of years ago that people have a 12-second attention span. You have 12 seconds now to engage somebody. But with these Bumble and Tinders and all of these, even, even Instagram, I mean, you're scrolling, literally, they've got it down to less than a second.
Yes.
Less than a second of attention, and you're making a decision.
Right.
So how much of that impatience is translating into our ability to have a human interaction?
Oh, that's such a great question. And it's so true because, I'm always teaching women to slow down and the self-care and the being more present because we miss out on so much, whether you're dating or in a relationship. And, this instantaneous thing is everywhere. And we've become a society of that. And how it affects, dating, for example, especially women that are like, oh, I like his picture, I don't like his picture, you don't
they don't even scroll into the biography, right?
Right. And so you're missing out, and it kind of, if you're working with single women, it comes down to, do you have this list of, he needs to be this tall and he needs to have this color hair, or he needs to have hair, or, and you can be so picky and you can miss out on some amazing man, because the bottom line is how a man makes us feel, how he treats us, how he shows up for us is far more important than, oh, he took a bad picture and so that second he's gone, right? He's standing there holding, with the fish he's caught, or taking the selfie in
and
the
you're
bathroom.
going, I don't like fish,
fishermen, right? Oh, I've seen some really bad ones. It's pretty incredible.
Or they always have sunglasses on, or,
and it puts us in that. It puts us in that space. It puts both people in that space of like all of this external value, right? This external value, and what we forget. And I think this is what Aziz Ansari said so nicely in Modern Love in his book, was that we forget that there's a human being on the other side of that avatar, right? We forget. We've dehumanized everybody into these little like avatars,
pictures,
basically,
right?
And we forget that every one of those people, they're on here, they are looking for some kind of love, some kind of I matter, some kind of I'm worthy. And you can say, well, no, they're just on there for sex. But even if they're on there for sex, what is sex? Right? What is sex to a man? Sex is
feeling that need,
contact
right?
and connection. It's being, it's experiencing and reveling in the feminine. It's why have we made that so bad? Why have we made that so pathologized? And I understand if it doesn't come with respect and all of that stuff, that's the negative piece. But why is a man wondering if he would be sexually attracted to you? Why does that make him bad?
No, it's good because men are attracted to what they see.
Yeah.
So yeah, we want to look good, but
Right.
yeah, when I get a client that says, men are always staring at my chest or something, and it's like, but you're wearing a V-neck and you're like letting the girls hang out.
Where's
He's
he
gonna
supposed to look?
Don't like dangle a carrot and then like.
Yeah.
And when you've been married
shame
5
him for
years,
it.
you hope he's looking at your boobs,
That's
right? I mean,
right.
that's the thing. Like,
I want to ask you about that,
be wanted.
getting married 5 years, because we also hear of this like 7-year itch, right? Is there truth to that? I've never been married, so I don't know. But I hear it from some of my friends. I can kind of see it. So
Well,
Yeah.
this is where that whole loving on the edge thing comes in. I'm not saying that you can't have a relationship that lasts forever. But if your relationship doesn't allow for both people to be authentic, and it doesn't allow for growth. If you're saying, we took a vow here when we were 22 and shouldn't even have been picking out good furniture, let alone life partners, we took a vow here, it's forever. And you're kind of supposed to be the same person, and if you're not, it's some sort of betrayal. And so I talk about allegiance, which is like commitment to a cause, right? And if you both have the cause of your partner's growth and expansion, then you don't have to itch. you don't, and there's ways with what you're specifically talking about with passion. I kind of go to the fire triangle and how to keep fire alive. You need like fuel, which is the love. You need spark, which is the attraction and the novelty, and the lingerie and the sex toys and whatever, and the air, the oxygen, which is the thing most people are afraid of, right? Wouldn't you say the thing that scares women a lot in relationship is any kind of space, any kind of,
Right.
air, like any kind of, because if what happens if you like take all the air out of a fire, right? It goes away. So if you can continue letting each other grow, then that kind of passion you don't have to get that big itch.
I want to ask you about monogamy. So
Monogamy.
we get married when we're 22, and we're supposed to stay married till we die.
Right.
Okay, that's a long time. And sometimes you need to inject some passion into the relationship, and sometimes it's just not coming from the partner you're with. So where's the boundary on monogamy these days?
Well, I mean, again,
Paradigm
that's
is
very
shifting.
individual. I personally can't imagine being in a relationship that was not monogamous. I find that doesn't work. I've had clients over the years that have been in open relationships, and it ends up being a lot of pain, and it usually doesn't work.
More on the female
However,
side or the male side?
The female side, because
both.
women,
It
we
can be both,
have
yeah.
mostly on the, and the reason being is because women, we have this chemical called oxytocin that's released that bonds us to men. Okay. And so what happens is we're bonded to this man and we're attached to him. And men, on the other hand, when they have sex, they have some oxytocin, but it actually is killed off by their testosterone. So sex is very different for us. We become, and as you were saying, when you're together, you feel this closeness. Women, feel close when we're together. Men actually can feel close when we're apart, like they start to miss us, and it's very different. So it's confusing for women.
Air, right?
When a man pulls away, women also go chasing after what's wrong, and he may just be single focused on something else. And the best thing to do, there was a book that 2 men wrote about this intimacy scale from 0 to 100. And women are always up 80, 97. We're always up there. And men, they're all over the place. And so when they pull away, we go kind of chasing after what's wrong, what did I do, what can I do differently, can I make you a sandwich, whatever it is. And he goes into maybe his man cave, right? And the best thing you can do is also pull back, not in a mean way, in a very nice way. You just step back, allow him,
But I think that comes back to what Sophie was saying.
Yeah, I want to say something about the monogamy issue too.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead. Being in your self-love. Because if you're okay with who you are, you're not dependent on him for that validation. So when he needs his space, you can go into your space and be okay with that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. But talk about monogamy.
Well, what I was going to say is what I don't want to perpetuate is the idea that women don't have eroticism around extramarital sex. Okay. I don't want to say like, oh, all women, all sex is all bondy, all oxytocin. Oxytocin is a real thing. It is a trust and bonding chemical, and we do have more of it than men do. But in long-term relationship, and there's actually a really good HuffPost article that gives you like 8 different definitions of planned non-monogamy because it's something we have to deal with because the paradigm is shifting. Okay, and so it is something that we have to look at. The couples that I know where it does work, it is about their eroticism as a couple. It is not coming from a place of lack. It is coming from a place of overflow. And it is coming where planned non-monogamy. Okay. Yeah. When somebody says open relationship, it sounds like a free-for-all. Okay. And it's also a very discreet practice. And so you don't hear about it a lot with couples where it works. You only hear about it when it falls apart. And I've actually known couples who have divorced after trying it and said, we're not divorcing because of this, but our divorce is more peaceful now because we're over the whole cheating and like you're having sex with somebody else thing. Right. Because what they're talking about here is I'm going to honor your sexuality. Tell me what it is. Tell me what you want. Let's make some fantasies happen for each other. Let's do this. And whether that doesn't mean that it's not respectful. I'm not saying go out and just do whatever you want, okay? Because this does not work for everybody.
A lot of boundaries.
But it's intense. Well, it's intense.
And discussion.
Just like anything else, it requires communication and rules. And if somebody, I think what people tend to think is, oh, if you're letting your partner experience sex with somebody else, you must not value them. When in fact, you must not value yourself. Or you might not value yourself. When in fact, what they're saying is, I value you so much that I want you to have the experience that you want to have, and it's actually kind of hot for me. Now, that's not hot for everybody. That's a totally different perception
on the same issue.
But remember, there's like how many millions of people, right? Not everybody's sexuality or their connection or their experience or their eroticism is the same, and it doesn't make you a bad person
to want to go extramarital.
to have an eroticism around what would it be like, and that's what we have to kind of remember that, and that's where it doesn't work for some men because they're like, oh, I thought this was hot, now she likes it, oh shit, I can't handle it. So that can be a thing too. So I would just say this, that because I have women go on dates and then people tell them, oh, I'm polyamorous or I'm this, or, and it's like it's an issue to explore as opposed to rejecting full out, just so that you understand it and you don't throw a drink in somebody's face and, and tell them like,
especially if
I'm
you're
not
being
enough.
upfront with you
Absolutely,
and being honest.
right?
Yeah,
Right.
thank you for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think the sooner they're upfront with that, the better for you, because then
Yes.
you have the choice to say, I want to play along, or thank you, but I'm not into that.
Exactly.
And I haven't wasted 2 years
Exactly.
of my life.
Right. She might
Right.
suddenly go like, so does that mean you're okay if I'm with women? You know,
There you go, right? You don't know what the
I mean,
response
we
is
don't
gonna be.
know.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's actually, you know, what many women, how it comes up in relationships.
Right.
And
So,
I think things are changing a little bit, because we grew up with Cinderella and Snow White, and Prince Charming is going to come and save us one day. And I think there's enough women living with no Prince Charming that they have had to save themselves. And because of that, the illusion of having one partner for the rest of your life has also sort of dissipated. So I think what Carrie said earlier is true, right? Society is shifting,
Yeah.
and we need to be able to play in this evolution.
you just got to get clear about what feels in alignment for you.
Exactly. I was
And it
just
doesn't
gonna
have to
say
be in
that.
alignment for
Right.
everybody else, right?
You know, I coach women that want to be in a relationship, but they don't want marriage, or they want to be in a relationship, but they don't want to live in the same house. You know, I mean, you get to do it however
that
you
works
want,
great.
right?
I love that.
Yeah, and so exactly, being in touch with what works for you, not being intimidated. And, you know, the difference between your masculine and your feminine, you had asked before about, now I'm going to forget it, but to be in your feminine being, you know, when a man is, pulls away or something like that, to be, if you're in your feminine being, you just get to be.
Are you finding that more men are opening up to embracing their feminine?
Yes, and we may differ on this, but you know, I am happy that men are expanding their knowledge, and yet most of the women that I work with and myself are very strong women, and so we need strong men. And I don't want a man that's saying, oh, I don't feel like doing that. That doesn't feel good to me. I really don't want to hear that in that way, right? Of course, I want it to work. I want us to be happy.
And you want
I want
his
him to be
feelings
happy.
to come out, but
And I want to know where he's coming from and all of those things, but the way that it's expressed, you know, I definitely, that's like being with another woman or with a very feminine man.
Because in the bedroom, you need the polarity, right? And so if we're all out in the world in our masculine, doing, linear, solving, somewhere you have to go into your authentic sexual energy, which is either more feminine or more masculine, and you have to like you literally kind of have to choose, like, I'm going to be in the receptive, you know, I'm going to, like, there's almost an agreement to keep your eroticism in your romantic life, right? Like, you can go out and kick ass and be all you want in the world.
Change?
Well, sure. And I think that's why, like, 50 Shades of Grey and things like that have been so widely received. And I am not an expert in this area at all, so forgive me if I say this wrong. But there is a respectful agreement in sort of a dom sub thing, right, that creates, it's sort of I can depend on this agreement of polarity. Do you know what I'm saying? Where like we're going to create this polarity. We're going to go into our romantic or sexual arena with an agreement that I'm going to be the receptive and you're going to be the giving, but it's supposed to be a respectful agreement. So because we're so confused about our roles right now, like we're so out in the world, but the only thing we value on the planet is like the masculine doing, and so we're out of balance, all of us. And I think that's why men are sort of saying, "Hey, I'm going to be more fluid. I'm going to be in touch with my femininity." But it's like, okay, but if you're going to want a feminine woman and you're going to want to get all that, you got to step into your masculine. Right.
And so what happens is that us powerful masculine women are attracting feminine men
in the world. And then in the bedroom, you're like, what's going on?
And then, you know, we're not getting what we want, but it's also, you know, you have to allow to be vulnerable. You know, it's been said that men, the number one thing that they love about women is our spontaneous vulnerability. And so being vulnerable to
is that
man
another
is
word
really
for crazy?
Yeah,
that's what
that's
that's
what they say when it doesn't work out.
They want us to be vulnerable, you know, and we're so used to being masculine and having all the answers and getting it done faster and telling him how to do it, and it, you know, it just doesn't work. So the masculine men aren't interested in us as men because they want to date a feminine woman.
Now, do we think that that's shifting for millennials? Because millennials...
Not on an energetic level.
Interesting.
Maybe in their head, but it doesn't. But then they're like, I don't know why I don't want to have sex with you. It's like,
still the same.
You know, it's still the same, right? I mean, would you agree?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you tell women to how do you tell women to, like, be in their feminine, like to practice it? Like, do you tell them to just say,
what are some
just
tips
say
for
thank you, or
Oh,
like let's say instead of telling them how to do the dishes, like, do you have any like buzzword thingies?
So on my website, I have
Give me a buzzword thingy.
We need some tools.
So I have some very bottom line things, and it's the 7 innocent mistakes women make when communicating with men, and you can get that on my website, communicationmagicwithmen.com. And I'll just share, like I had mentioned, the practicing good listening. When we cut men off, we do things that are disrespectful that we don't even know we're doing, that cause men to not give us the things naturally that they're going to give to us, like protecting, providing, cherishing, and adoring. You know, we want to be allies. We want to be a team. We want to work together, and it's all part of the communication. And so if you're doing things you don't know you're doing that are, you know, disrespectful, that are hurting him, and men aren't going to share their feelings about it, right? So it may seem like no big deal to you.
And I think that goes back to what Sophie was saying earlier, which is we start projecting things that haven't even happened yet.
Right.
You know,
and
the poor
we're
guy's
proving
going,
our worth.
Right.
We're proving our worth when we interrupt them, right?
Right.
We're like saying, I know that. Oh, well, I know how to do that. And you're like, you're still out there proving your worth.
That's
and it's
one
like,
of them. Improving upon his
yeah,
ideas.
it's like,
right?
just chill. You're enough.
Right.
Right.
Right. I mean, and we believe our realities are the same. So, for example, you know, we're doing the dishes, and he's sharing his day, and we can multitask. We can do the dishes, we can interact, and we can respond just fine. But a man, you need his undivided attention, right? He needs to be single focused on you. And so he doesn't feel like you're really giving him his attention, your attention.
I have to add something to this because twice last week this happened to me, and I was interacting with men just in a work environment, and they were texting as I was trying to talk. I'm texting right now, and I was like, oh, okay. And then literally the next day I'm talking to someone else, and as he's texting, I'm talking. He's like, well, just wait till I'm done texting. And I'm thinking, wow, like I can text and talk and comb my hair and brush my teeth.
If you know that when a
Right,
man
change a
is
diaper.
doing something, he cannot
men,
give
but
you
it's
his
hilarious.
undivided attention. And then he doesn't hear us, and then we say, I told you 2 days ago, or I told you yesterday that we were doing this, or we were going, you know.
Right.
And so there's a formula to getting his
But it's such a
attention.
beautiful dance. Like when you get it, it's so fun. And God, it's so much it's literally calms your nervous system. That's why
It works
that's why
well.
we
A
crave
good
it.
relationship does?
Well, yeah, a good relationship when you can be in your feminine and you could look at you. You're like, oh
I know, just the
my
thought
God,
of that,
just
just-
the thought of
just
that.
the thought of
no,
that relaxes me.
seriously, the fact that you could
true.
if you could rest into, if you could be in your feminine and rest into the masculine, this is why I do the work I do. It's life-changing. It is life-changing, but you have to be...
And you need a man to provide that masculine vessel. And I think that's where you were coming
That's
in.
so
But they
true.
step
Right,
into
yeah.
it when you
Have-
give them room. They
Yes.
step into it when you give them room. You make men... I hate to say this because it's going to be like, oh, I got to make him a better man. You naturally become more feminine and more masculine. Don't you think in that interaction they step into it and it feels so good and they don't know why. They are just so into you because they get to be a man with you. That's why
And I was going to say, if you're a man and you're watching, because this has been a little bit of a female-centric conversation so far, let us know what you think. Let us know how your interactions with women have been. It's 818-570-5085. If you're watching this on LA Talk Radio, you've got that number flashing. But if you're watching it on Facebook right now, it's 818-570-5085. And again, part of the disconnect that I've seen and I've chatted about with my friends is with the whole feminine revolution and the feminism and all of this in the late 60s and 70s and 80s, and that, you know, just opened up. We really empowered women with this message of you can be president, you can be CEO, you can do it all. But I think we forgot to tell that generation of men what they're supposed to do. So we didn't...
Yeah, masculine went to macho.
Right.
And
And
it's
it
sad.
either became super macho misogynistic or it disappeared completely.
Well, they don't know what to do, and it is a challenge because the bottom line is the man just wants to make us happy.
Right, but do you
And
open the door for a
so-
woman and get bitched at? Or do you open a door for a woman
they
and get
don't
praised?
know because
Right.
some women bitch about it. I got the door, I've got the bill, I'll even pay for your dinner, right? And so with our overdeveloped masculinity as women, and this, feminine power is overused in the wrong way, because your feminine is
really powerful,
way more powerful than your masculine, but it doesn't feel that way because it is using your vulnerability, right?
And it's using a more I don't mean chaos in a bad way. It's using a more fluid and chaotic energy that's really powerful, like a hurricane, which is perfect. A hurricane's perfect, like it or not. Might not feel perfect to us, but it is. And you can harness that in a way that's really, really powerful, but it's not valued in the same way because it doesn't have a mathematical bottom line.
We think about things like, you pick up Think and Grow Rich, and one of the chapters is sexual transmutation, literally taking the sexual energy that's built up and transmuting it into creativity, into business success. How much of that is important in a man's ability to achieve everything he wants to achieve, having that stable, supportive relationship at home?
Oh, gosh. Well,
and vice versa, I suppose we could say.
Well, men, their focus is to be good protectors and providers. And women are much more relationship focused. And when we are using our femininity and we are respecting, admiring, and appreciating the man in our life, in our romantic relationship, it often, what I've seen is there's nothing that they can't do. So, staying out of that mothering, parenting role.
So unsexy.
It's so unsexy. And you end up being the mom and they're the son. And so how do they feel? Nagging, and you get passive aggressive behavior.
And then they look for the secretary.
Right.
Well, nobody wants to have sex with their mother.
That's right. They look for somebody that's going to listen to them, that's going to, respect and admire them. That's what they want. And you think, most women think that if you give them that, especially when there's little resentments of things that they haven't done, like they haven't earned it, or you're a little irritated, that you give them that, they don't deserve it, and they're just going to get a fat head and end up with the secretary anyway because they're going to think they're so great. And it actually works the opposite way, is that it draws the man to you, the fact that you feel that way and that you listen to what he has to say. I mean, I keep bringing up listening, but I have to say it is so important, and it's so difficult for us as women to listen because of this quick, fast brain that we have.
It's amazing when I'll have a conversation with my boyfriend and I'll find myself like wanting to finish his sentence and I don't, and he goes a whole different way, and I'm like, wow, I just learned something about you.
Much more,
and they feel heard and seen and respected. Respect, right? Love, very fine line between those two things. They feel the same. It's a harmonious vibration, let's call it. And when you give them that, my God, they'll do anything for you.
That's
it's incredible.
It's almost not fair when I say this to women. Like, when you learn this, you have to use this for good and not for evil, right? You have to use this for good,
right?
Because it's so powerful, and what a man wouldn't do for you, right?
They're so beautiful. Men are so beautiful. If we could just see each other that way, it would just. When a man is in his healthy masculine, not the macho, I have to show you my external power kind of thing. But when he's in his healthy masculine, my God, it's like, why do you think we like calendars of firemen holding kitties?
Right.
My God, it's just like, I don't know what to do with this. Totally. And my friend Ben, he's in he's just wonderful. He's totally in his healthy masculine. You know what he said? He said, it's the woman's job to run the relationship emotionally, and it's the man's job to make her feel safe doing it.
Yes.
Which I think is so beautiful.
And I think if more men could get that, then relationships would be very different.
Well, it's tough,
but she's got to listen.
Right. Yeah, like you said,
she's got to listen.
Does a man open the door? Does he, offer to pay for the meal? Because there's women that are in their masculine and they're shutting that down. And so men don't know what to do. Yeah, they want it. They want to know what to do, but it doesn't
I guess
work
that's
with
back
every
to
woman.
the dance, right? The
dance that is such a
meeting
big part of our
walking
dance.
through it and the whole thing. What are some ways that people in a relationship right now can harmonize the masculine and feminine?
Ooh, so good.
Well, I mean, I'll just use this as an example because it's one of my favorites, and you don't have to do this one, but I'll just use it as an example. I actually love the dance of my man opening the door for me.
So do I.
And I'll tell you why. Because it is a dance. It's sort of him allowing you to be graceful in the world. Like if I drop something too, my boyfriend's like, don't pick that up. It's not because I'm unable to. It's because he wants to do that for me. He wants to protect or allow me to be graceful in the world. And here's what it also becomes. It's our dance of romance. So even if we're like, let's say he shows up really late, bless his heart, he's always trying to please everybody else, but awesome, a lot of times he's late. And if I happen to be particularly irritated about it, the moment that I stop my irritation, like I own my irritation, and I allow him to open that door for me, and I say, thank you, it's like I'm still doing the dance with you. I know you can feel I'm irritated, but I am still dancing with you. You are still my man. And it becomes this lovely, unspoken tool that you can use that says, I'm still here. Like, we're still doing this dance, even if I'm irritated. And you can be a grown-up about it and just own your irritation and get over it and have a good evening. What do you want?
Why would you ruin your
Why would you
evening?
ruin your
Right.
evening over
Right.
15 minutes, you know? And so it just, things like that where you can just let somebody say, this feels like I just want to do this for you. It makes me feel like I'm taking care of you.
Yeah.
Let him do it.
And I'd love to answer that too, because I get a lot of clients that are not happy in their relationship. Obviously, they were in love at one point, and that's why they are together. And then it's this slow degradation of all the little things that show up that then make it unhappy. And if you've been using your masculine, you're not getting what you need from him.
Right.
So if you, as a woman, you have all the power. If you change the way you communicate with a man, he'll start doing the things again that you love, that you desire, that you want.
So
Yep.
great.
That's
Ladies,
really true.
if
Really
our
true.
audience wants to work with you, where can they find you? So this weekend they can come find you live if you're here locally in Los Angeles.
Find me live. LovingOnTheEdgeWorkshop.com is where
Wait,
you'll
say it
find
again
information.
slowly.
LovingOnTheEdgeWorkshop.com is where you'll find more information about the event. But the first 4 people that email me at Sophie@SophieVenable.com, I will just put you on the list. And SophieVenable.com is my regular website. Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
right. Fantastic. And Carrie, Communication Magic with Men.
CommunicationMagicWithMen.com. And I do have a program that's a year-long program that's Facebook Live every week. It's very, very affordable. You can ask your questions. And so I started doing that at the end of last year because I just wanted to reach out to more women. So
Yeah. Okay, so any women that might want to be part of that group, just reach out to you on Facebook. What's the Facebook group?
Well, the Facebook
Or they
group
have to
is
talk
private.
to you first.
Yeah, if you go to the
Right.
website, the
Yeah,
information pops
consultation.
up right there, and you can always email me and ask questions.
Okay.
So, yes,
Perfect.
Thank
All right,
you.
so parting tips, ladies, one each, on how to strengthen a relationship. I mean, I don't want to go into how to find one because that's a whole separate show.
Yeah.
But if you're
Right.
already in one, we can do that at another time. How to find a relationship. But if you're in a relationship, how do you sustain it?
Ask yourself
tip.
what it is you're really missing. Like if you're missing his generosity, or you're missing his humor, or you're missing the fun. And then ask yourself, how can I bring that? How maybe I'm not being generous, maybe I'm not being fun, maybe I'm not. And so when you're pointing the finger out, point the finger back at yourself and see because what you're experiencing outside of you is a reflection of what's going on inside of you. So, and that's part of that receptivity. How can I allow that into my life?
So I would say really learn what your feminine is, so you have the opportunity to choose to use your feminine in your relationship and shift the man that you're with, because he'll respond to what you say.
Communication.
Yep.
All right. Ladies, thank you so much for being here
Thank
today.
Thank you. This was fun.
I'm
Yeah,
excited that
thank you.
February's here. I'm excited for 2018. I'm excited for love. And of course, we're very excited about all of it here. Thanks for tuning in. Big shout out to our sponsor, All Green Funding. If you're looking for green to grow your business, reach out to me. All Green Funding. All of us are looking for money. So, if you're in business for
That's
yourself,
another one, abundance.
call me. Yeah, right. And I would love to do a show on how sexuality ties into monetary abundance and how
Ooh.
that's all linked. So
I like it.
We may have to start a series, ladies. We'll get back to you. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to LA40 with Katerina Cozias, only on LA Talk Radio.